Counselor Lennox Zepp, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Perfect, thank you.
I like that. If you hit that button, they were on. I love that button. Hello, welcome everyone to being 5 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'd like to remind everyone that we're on Treaty 6 land, the home of the Métis, and I'll ask everyone to rise and the city clerk to say a prayer.
O God, let us each in our own way ask your wisdom and guidance in our deliberations. Help us to incorporate into all our decisions those values which will enable us to fulfill our mission, to act as responsible stewards, and to respect and value the cultural and spiritual traditions of all citizens of the city of Prince Albert. For this we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Before I ask for approval of the agenda, we have one addition, and that was a new committee appointment for a vacancy in community services. So if I could get a motion to approve the agenda as amended, please. Councillor Miller.
That the agenda for this meeting be approved and presented, and presentations, delegations, and speakers listed on the agenda be heard forward and called forward by the mayor with the addition.
Thank you. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second the motion.
Thank you. And I'll prompt the question. It's now open, and we have Councillor Lennox Zepp on Teams. How do you vote, Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, presentations, we have none. Delegations, we have none. Adoption of the minutes, 6.1. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to go back to declaration of conflict on item number 5. I do have a conflict to declare today on item number 1113. As I worked with this local in 2019 in preparation of the bargaining, so I will remove myself from that vote today.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, and I'm in the same boat. Item 11.5, I'm going to declare a conflict of interest as I'm on the Carlton Park board.
11.5.
Yeah, that's the Kinsman Naming Rights Agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and remember that you have to give the form to the clerk when you're done. Oops, sorry. I put Spray Park. It's Kinsman. Okay, thank you. Okay, adoption of the minutes. Councillor Gilmer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the minutes of the council regular meeting held January 24th, 2022 be taken as read and adopted.
Thank you. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll second that.
Thank you. I'll prompt the question. The question is now open. Councillor Zepp.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, number 7, notice of proclamations. I only had one request this period. 7.1, Pink Shirt Day, February 23rd, 2022. Public hearings, we have none. Delegations, we have none. Communications, we have none. 11, reports of administration and committees. 11.1, metal disposal services. Oh, I guess I should look at my screen now that the crowd. Councillor Gilmore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that an extension to the metal disposal services agreement between the city and Inland Steel Products Limited be approved for a 1-year term from February 1st, 2022 to January 31st, 2023, and the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city once prepared.
Thank you. Councillor
I will
Cody?
second it.
Thank
Your
you.
Worship.
Any discussion? I see no one in the queue, so I'll prompt the question. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. 11.2, Annual Notice of Consumer Report. Councillor Head?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that the 2021 Annual Notice to Consumers Report for the period of January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021 be approved.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Kilmer?
Thank you. I will second that.
Thank you. Any questions? I see no one in the queue, so I'll prompt the question. The question's now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. 11.3, Crescent Heights Spray Park. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that the spray park design and construction with Playgrounds or Us and ULS be approved in the amount of $347,055.25, including applicable taxes, and that the city enter into an agreement with Malcolm Jenkins, donor for the Crescent Heights Spray Park, subject to the donor's conditions outlined within the report, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement and any other necessary documents on behalf of the city once prepared. And if there's a seconder, I'll just make a comment.
Okay. Councillor Edwards.
I'll second this, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Brodnick.
Just a quick comment, and again, this is, I want to thank the Director of Community Services, Jody Boulay, and also Malcolm Jenkins for coming to an agreement and having a shared vision for this particular area. And so that's always nice when we have these joint agreements and we have people in the community willing to donate money to help improve the community. So thank you to Malcolm Jenkins and Canadian Tire for their donation to help make this spray park a reality. And that'll leave, after this one, that'll leave just one paddling pool left that will need to be addressed in next year's budget, hopefully. And then we'll have all of our paddling pools gone away with and moved to spray parks and make it much more safe for everybody. So thank you.
Yeah, and that location is Hazeldale. It will be the last paddling pool. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I just want to reiterate Councillor Grodnick's comments. I mean, this is a great investment to our community. And, you know, it looks like Malcolm Jenkins is taking over the lion's share of this. And this is my second year on council now and seeing a motion similar to this. So a big thank you to Malcolm Jenkins and all who worked on this file. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Zirakowski.
Thank you, Your Worship. What's nice about this initiative is the partnership. And that's the way we've seen that through budget conversations. We've seen this. We'll see this again a few times here tonight. Partnerships is
Yes.
the way we get things done in this community. And when we have a partner, a willing partner that's ready and willing to partner with citizens, with the city, I think that's, as my colleagues have said, that's the thing to celebrate. So I think we need to pause and reflect upon as we're building for our community. I think we're always open for those partnerships. And so there's a little foreshadowing perhaps. I do have one question, if I may, for the department. During or with the construction of this splash park, the equipment that is used and that will be purchased, is it interchangeable for the other splash parks that we have in the community? Or will it be locked inside, or after a few years, you know, as my 2-year-old gets to be 3 and 4 and whatever comes after that, will there be a, I don't have a 2-year-old, I shouldn't have said me.
Holy.
I don't, and I don't want to know.
Don't want to know.
Oh, boy. Okay, here we go. So
You remember Valentine's Day was
Yes.
yesterday.
Yeah. Stop talking, that's right. So that's my question. So far as the equipment used at the splash pads, are they interchangeable?
Director?
Thank you, Mayor Dion. To Councillor Zurikowski's inquiry, not interchangeable between spray parks. So for example, the concept you see for this particular location, we wouldn't be in a position to be able to take those components and move them to another location. What we have been able to do, however, in some locations where a spray park is in close proximity to an outdoor rink, we have been able to construct them in the way, it is a bit of a challenge, but we have been able to construct them in a way where those components can be removed for the winter season, utilize that area for, you know, a leisure skating area outside of the boarded arena, outdoor arena. And we have been able to achieve some of those, but interchanging them between doesn't really work as well just because of the structure that's in place and the base that's in place. If in the future you wanted to interchange components, you'd have to go back to the same supplier, but then again, I'm sure at some cost, of course.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Is there at some point in the future, the ones that we built several years ago will be in need of refurbishing, changing, either because they need it through wear and tear, or they're broken, or for some variety and changes? So moving forward, I guess, is there some forethought into making that happen? Rather than sort of a surprise sort of capital ask every year? Is there a plan in place to make that happen?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll leave it
Go
on.
ahead.
Certainly that is something that we have been reviewing between our parks manager and our sport and recreation manager. Although we have had that initial goal to work towards replacing all of the existing paddling pool locations, what hasn't been lost on the department is the fact that, you know, some of our other locations certainly are aging. Some of those locations are within our playgrounds and park amenities report. There's some reference in there to those locations and potentially how they could look in the future. But we do anticipate bringing something forward that can give council a little bit of an outlook and the community with respect to some of those locations that have been around for a while.
Thank you.
Councillor Edwards?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick comment on, I'm pleased on the investments that we've done in the playgrounds over the last 5 years. It's such a great commitment to the families and the kids of our community. They're going to be well utilized. It provides them safe entertainment. It's so important. I'm happy to be part of this motion and happy to support it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll prompt the question. The question's now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. It passes unanimously. $11.4, federal and provincial funding application, library branch. Councillor Zurikowski.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move the recommendation, and then I have some questions, if I may.
Oh, you're not moving option 3?
The recommendation is only to receive and file.
Okay. Go ahead.
Do I need a seconder?
Oh, it's still showing up there. Seconder? Councillor Miller?
I'll second Mayor Dion.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Zurikowski.
Thank you. So the most exciting part of this is of this process that we're embarking is the return of our tax. I shouldn't say that, but it is. It's a return of our tax dollars to our community to help build our community. I mean, and partnerships is what we talked about earlier. We'll talk about it again later tonight. This federal share of this ask will be up to 40%. The provincial share, more than 33%. So those are really attractive numbers for our community moving forward. So I think we need to find a way to move this ahead, and I think that's what the Community Services Director is talking about. This is only an update. The work will continue on this, and the questions, of course, will follow, both by the community, by us, and by the Public Library Board. So I guess one of the questions I have now is, one of the things as I read the report that caused me to sort of raise an eyebrow is I don't want to call it stubbornness. I just don't understand, as we creating facilities for our families in the community moving forward, the reluctance to look at the cost-effective ways of building something new onto something that's already existing. The retort of, because we asked about, a branch library years ago, and the answer was no, and we're moving forward again with that process. But how do we work through the layers of bureaucracy that say no, when what really makes sense is there's opportunities here to build a branch library onto something that will be already current, that's already existing. Rather than that, at this early stage, the governments are saying, we're not interested, we're only interested in standalone. So I wonder if we can get some context there. And my other question is, now what? What are the next steps moving forward?
Go ahead, Director of Community Services.
Thank you, Mayor Dion, to Councillor Zerikowski's inquiry. We certainly appreciated the opportunity to sit down with the provincial government representatives responsible for this program. As you know, they've also been our representatives through the first phase of the new facility in that development, and they have been good contacts. I think they really were helpful. We had the city manager, the director of public works, and also the director of planning and development in on that conversation as well, just to make sure we had all of our representation there. We had a lot of good questions that came from our group. I think some good follow-up and some willingness to work with us, which was appreciated. There was a bit of a complication on building onto the existing facility, and that was where shared infrastructure comes into play. Any of the funding that we had received under this same ISIP program previously wouldn't be able to be eligible for the new branch addition. So what that means is when we're putting in any of our mechanical equipment, for example, is probably one of the main examples I would point to, we wouldn't be able to apply or be eligible to receive funding from the ISIP program because that mechanical equipment would be, considered kind of a double take, or for lack of a better term, on that funding. So it's already support they're giving us for the twin pad and aquatics facility. Therefore, for the branch library, being able to apply for that wouldn't be eligible. So what we would have to do in a situation like that is then create a whole accounting scenario between our internal resources, the provincial government internal resources, to separate all of that from the project, which makes it very difficult. We don't want to jeopardize our existing funding either, and we were very clear with the provincial representatives that that was also a priority in this. However, the other priority is there an opportunity for us to apply by May 10th under this program in line with Council's resolution to do so? And that's what the options point to. Option 1, not so much. Option 2, very much a lower response rate, I think, is kind of what they alluded to. And more the standalone under the ISIP program being their preferred. So after today, in terms of next steps to that question, I think it would be prudent for myself, representation from the city, and also representation from the library, maybe have one more call with those representatives and make sure that we're clear on exactly how that can work. Then Council has asked for a copy of that application to come back to Council before it is submitted. So that would be the step following that. We would work together to prepare that draft, make sure that the library board as well has a chance to review it, and then likewise members of Council before it's submitted. So we are operating on a bit of a tight time frame when it comes to this type of application, but those were some of the challenges they pointed to.
Great. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's nice to hear that the province's willingness to move forward together for a successful application. I think that's very exciting. So that's important for us to know and to realize that. So we thank them for that moving forward. So I think you're right. I think we need to find a way forward without putting the existing funding at risk for the project that is currently in place, but also moving forward with this current grant application, because any money that doesn't come directly from our property taxes to build this community, I think that is a win-win. And in a partnership sort of way, I think this application gets us there. It gets us a long ways down that road.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards?
Thank you, Mayor Dion. I certainly appreciate the funding options and the opportunities to receive funds for a branch library. I think it is, an important project. And I certainly appreciate the grant funding that we received from for the aquatics and the twin pads arenas. But I'm a little disappointed in the fact that this is being looked at as we need to have a separate building. With all the focus on green initiatives these days and reducing power and reducing, whatever we can, and now they're kind of pushing it into build it separate. And to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It is a separate project. It is within the same walls, or it certainly could be, which we would save big on the green initiatives if we could share walls and share heating. And to me, common sense should prevail a little bit. Unfortunately, it may not. And this, to me, I just wish that we could tweak it a little bit, because that's the push these days. Green, 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 save wherever we can, save the world. Well, this is an opportunity and a little bit of funding to help build that part of it, which would, I believe, save everybody money as well, because we would be sharing walls. It just makes a lot of sense. And so I really wish that, the bureaucracy of all of it could go away and we could just discuss it head to head and make a little sense of it.
Okay, thank you. I have a question for the director. Option 3, the standalone. What was their comments about that? Did they say we would have a chance, that's the way to go, or what was their feelings? Or did they even give an opinion? Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Dion. No, they certainly did give an opinion. I think what led them to that opinion around option 3, however, was a couple factors. One being the funding that we had already received, and they're very much well aware of that. Part of the ISIP program that they want to ensure applicants are doing is preventing submitting an application that could be considered stacking. Okay. In that scenario, that's where you're potentially seeing as applying for funding and applying funding to the project from the same funding program that you already received for another phase of that same project. So I think that's what's leading them to guide us a little bit. I have heard, however, some of the comments here this evening, and that's something we can take back in our future follow-up on this application process, because if we are to receive funding and tie it in, certainly there's benefits to that we've heard.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I see nobody else in the queue.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Tara Lennox up, please.
Okay, joining us by Teams and will give us a heads up. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm in favor of the motion. I understand from the director that work will continue to be done after this meeting today, and that we're anticipating to put forward an application for funding, and that's great. I just wanted to make a note that our community services master plan, section 17, it's a whole section that guides us as a city on, it says, to utilize the infrastructure planning framework to guide the process of contemplating developing major infrastructure. And so if we, at this stage in this motion, we're dealing with the funding, and that's a good thing. That's where we're at right now. I just wanted to mention that this section of the Community Services Master Plan recommends to do public consultation. And so if we get to a stage where, where we can consider that, I would very much be in favor of doing some public consultation. Where would we, where is the best place for this item to be located? And if you also take a look in the Community Services Master Plan, section 19, it has the criteria listed, and it states how to use the site selection criteria when deciding on a location for major infrastructure. And again, considering reaching out to the public, finding out what location public would like here. So I just want to mention the Community Services Master Plan here. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Moving to Counselor Edwards, you're going to excuse yourself, so I'll wait till you go, then I'll announce it. Oh, can you kill your light? Sorry. Thank you. Or if I ever want to win a race, it's going to be with that door. Okay, he's left the room, so 11.5, Kinsman Naming Rights Agreement. Councillor Bodnick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that the naming rights agreement between the city and Prince Albert Kinsman Club for the basketball, pickleball courts at Carlton Park Community Club be approved in the amount of $30,000 for a 10-year term from 2021 to 2032. Two, that the $10,000 received from the Kinsman Club in 2022 be allocated to the basketball, pickleball court project at the Carlton Park Community Club. And three, that the naming rights, the remaining $20,000 received from the Kinsman Club in increments of $5,000 per year for 4 years from 2023 to 2026 be allocated to the community services building reserves to be utilized by the Carlton Park Community Club for future capital projects. And four, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city once prepared. And if there's a seconder, I'll just comment very briefly.
Seconder?
Second,
And you want to comment?
me?
Go ahead, and then I'll go back to Councillor Bodnick.
So, again, here's an example of great partnerships in our community. We have a service organization, a very active community club, and the city itself partnering to get something done for the families and the folks living in that area. So, to me, again, this is, often we come here and we deal with difficult questions and solutions, and funds are not available. I think we need to pause and reflect that, we're very lucky in this community that we have organizations and people stepping up to serve and to create space and activities for the families that live here. So I think this organization needs to be celebrated, and I appreciate them for stepping forward.
Thank you. Anyone else before I go to Councillor Bodnick? No, Councillor Bodnick, you're up.
Okay, thank you. I thought usually when you move a motion, you speak first, but that's...
No, I was going to let you close.
Okay, I thought you get to open and close, but anyways, I'll just make it very brief. I just want to, again, to reiterate a few things that Councillor Zurkowski said about partnerships, which is great. But what's also great about this is, again, the work that the department has done. And I think it was Tim Yeaman that did the whole work on our parks and playgrounds, et cetera, and stating that our community clubs are not all the same. And each community club has different needs and different wants. And so this is an example of where this particular community club wants basketball courts and pickleball courts, and that's what we're going to have. We're not going to have basketball and pickleball courts at every community club. We might, but we might not. And this is an example of where the community clubs have spoken and said this is a need in our particular community, and the department has acted on that with the community club in making this happen and this becoming a reality. For example, down in Councillor Miller's ward, they're getting a portable skateboard, and things like that. That's what the community wants. Those are the kinds of things that we need in those particular areas. And partnerships help make this happen. So thank you again to the Kinsman Club for making this happen, and for the department for all their work in making this happen, as well as the members and volunteers of those community clubs.
Yes, because that's very important. Okay, I see no one else in the queue. So I'll prompt the question. The question is now open. Councillor Zapp?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. I got him. Thank you very much. 11.6, CMGC Sponsorship Agreement. Councillor Cody.
Yes, I agree with the recommendation, and I move that the Cook Municipal Golf Course sponsorship agreement between the city and BTR Financial Management Manulife Securities, Inc. in the amount of $5,000 per year for 5 years, ending December 31st, 26, be approved, and that the Cook Municipal Golf Course sponsorship agreement between the city and the Saskatchewan Indian Gaming Authority in the amount of $5,000 for 2022, ending December 31st, 2022 be approved, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? I see no one in the queue, so I'll pump the question. The question is now open. Councillor Zepp.
Yes.
Motion carries. 11.7, 22 General Fund and Capital Budget. Well, Councillor Gilmore is going to volunteer, the principal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
I move that the 2022 general fund budget be approved and that $44,370,240 of revenue necessary to balance the general funding operating budget be raised from municipal taxation. That the 2022 general fund capital budget in the amount of $18,208,440, including principal payments on loans, and $263,040 in police capital be approved. That the 2022 transfer of $5,226,500 from the general fund operating to general fund capital be approved. That the 2022 fleet budget in the amount of $2,106,000, including $390,000 in police service requirements be approved. That the 2022 police service be funded at $17,805,140, inclusive of capital expenditures of $263,040, and that the police base tax in the amount of $515,000. That, number 7, that the city accept a $400,000 transfer from the police services operating reserve to the city's general fund as approved by the Board of Police Commissioners to assist with the budget shortfalls. That the 2022 reserve allocations of $4,847,280 and principal payments on the loan of $274,300 be approved for a total amount of $5,121,580. That the following staff changes be approved. A, that salary allocation for one full-time equivalent chief clerk position in the water utility fund be reallocated back to the general fund, and that one full-time airport maintenance position for the airport fund be approved, and that Sunday from 11:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. be added to the level of service for published hours of operation. The amendment number 1, the fire dispatch services agreement between the city and the Sask Public Safety Agency regarding the provision of dispatching services for fire services to the city be approved. That the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the amendment number 1 to the fire dispatch services agreement and any other applicable documents on behalf of the city. That the motions from the 2022 General Fund Budget Committee deliberations be ratified, and that the administration proceed as authorized, and that the 2022 General Fund budgeted expenditures be approved for disbursement effective January 1st, 2022.
Oh, thank you. Seconder. Councillor Cody.
Yes, I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Tara Lennox Zepp requesting to be in the queue.
You're the only one in the queue. Go ahead.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead, let her go.
Go ahead, Councillor Zepp.
Oh, I apologize, I can,
No,
wait,
go ahead.
okay.
I've noticed you.
Thank you. There are many exciting things within this budget document, things that I think the public can be excited about. However, I will be voting no on this budget, and I wanted to relay my issues here, my reasons here. Two major issues I wanted to raise. The first one being, if you take a look at the Civic Facilities Reserve and Civic Facilities Levy, this budget envisions $1.5 million being spent in this fiscal year for the large arena architectural design. And also $1 million being spent in this fiscal year for to pay for the additional parking for the large arena and aquatic and twin pads arena out of the civic facilities levy that we charge our citizens. As I've mentioned before, that I have been wishing that we as a council pursued and followed the community services master plan. So the master plan, section 17, lays out how to assess and make determinations on major infrastructure. For example, we have not yet done any assessment of the cost differences between doing the necessary repair work to the existing large arena versus the cost of building a new arena. Also, the Community Services Master Plan clearly states that, that we would do public consultation for major new infrastructure, and we have not yet done that for this large arena project. And I think it is pivotal that we talk with the community about what their wants are. Do they want these funds spent in this way, and move in that type of consultation. Secondly, section 19 of the Community Services Master Plan provides what's called site selection criteria. And that is a process of criteria to look into the location for new major infrastructure. And again, I am concerned that this budget envisions spending these large sums of money when we have not yet done that site selection criteria, nor the earlier items that I mentioned.
Okay.
The point number two that I have is throughout the budget process, I have been advocating for items within the budget that would impact long-term planning and long-term savings. And so two items, I can give two examples here that our city administration have advised us that if and when we as a city council ever budget the funds to operate our own fuel tanks at the MSC, that we can expect $30,000 per year of cost savings. And that is revenue that we as a city could potentially see. At first, at budget, we did vote to include that into this budget, I think because of that revenue opportunity. And I see that it is not any longer being pursued in this through this council. And I don't know a lot about fuel tanks. However, when we hear from city administration that we could see that type of a cost saving, I think it's something that we need to think about for long-term planning. We've seen this same item in our budget binders since I first came on council in the year 2016. And so if we eventually do budget for this item, we could see cost savings long into the future if we get on it and are willing to pay the capital to do that work. And my second example of the same topic of long-term planning is that we are not yet budgeting any funds for the Central Avenue streetscape work. And I completely understand that that's a long-term project to do Central Avenue downtown, and that we would need a lot of pre-communication and a lot of pre-planning along with all the residents and business owners of the area. However, I'm only talking about budgeting funds, making a plan for funds at this stage, and so far we have not yet. put any funds aside to do that work, and our budget material does tell us that the pipes under the ground under Central Avenue are 110 years old, and that there is, we can eventually get breakage of those pipes that is more costly to do that work in the wintertime when there's a break instead of proactively pursuing the work. So those are my comments. I'm sure that other members of council will have points on those issues as well. However, I wanted to take the opportunity to share those comments, and again, to highlight that there are some very exciting, wonderful projects in that budget. However, these are my overall broad points of concern. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councillor Cody?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Well, I certainly will be voting for the budget, that's for sure, because I think there's far more things in here than, that are good for this community and that are necessary for this community than there are things that we may not necessarily think are good. Look, you can have all the long-term planning you want, but you know you've only got X number of dollars to do it. Secondly, I'm not going to refute all of the things that my council colleague said, because that's not what I'm about to do. I think what we have to look at here is, if every one of us said the same things as the councillor did, we wouldn't have a budget. What would we do with the Cedars Transportation? What would we do with the Community Services Program? What would we do with the police and the fire? I guess we shut them all down. We'd be just exactly like they are in the United States. You'd have to go begging and borrowing to the other side of the house to say, hey, could you please give us another day to get some money so we can pay our staff. That's not the way you operate. That's not the way it works. It isn't the way it works. The way it works is that you can put your points together, do your utmost to convince your colleagues, but at the end of the day, you have to vote for something. You cannot have a budget like this sit on the floor, on the table, without having it passed. That's simply impossible. If you look at this budget, there's been a tremendous pile of work put into this. The administration, I think, did a pretty good job. Could we have a little more tweaking? Of course you could. Of course you could. Every one of us can tweak. But I think, by and large, it's as good as we're going to get with the little money that we have available to us from cuts that we get from you know where. It's not from us, it's from senior governments, downloading and what have you. If we added all those funds, we'd have an awful lot better budget than we even have. But I think this budget is good, it's wholesome, it does the job that we need for our public, and I think the public will find we have done what they wanted us to do, and that is to give them the services that they have and improve the ones that we now have, and improve on other things. There's a ton of things in this budget that I think are fantastic. And I am certainly not one who's going to say no to all of those things just because there's a few little items that I don't like. So I'm prepared to pass this budget, and I'm going to ask my colleagues to take another good look at it and try and pass it as well. Because I think it's necessary for the public to know that we're a team that can get along, a team that can play together, and a team that wants to do what they have asked us to do, pass the budget for their sake.
Thank you. Councillor Brodnick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too am going to support this budget, and for reasons that Councillor Cody mentioned, I thank him for his words of wisdom to all of us. And I just want to reiterate some of the things that yeah, did I vote in favor of every item in this budget? No. Nobody gets everything that they want. But if you just think about parks and playgrounds and recreation, it affects every single part of the city. Every corner of the city is benefiting from that. Snow removal, every part of the city is benefiting from that. And to say no to this, I think is irresponsible in a sense. You know, the Brink project and the aquatic center. You know, I hear from members of the public that, well, why don't you build a bridge instead? Well, you know what? When grants become available, that's when you take that opportunity to apply and get money. And that project, we got $44 million. We're building a $60 million plus facility, and it's gonna cost the residents of Prince Albert $16 million. That's our share. That's a pretty good deal. If the provincial and federal government all of a sudden said, we're gonna have a bridge program, well, of course we would apply. And if they wanted to, right now municipalities across Saskatchewan are talking about social issues within their communities. The organizations that represent all the municipalities are going to put pressure on the government to come up with some sort of programs to help. Of course we're going to apply then and seek assistance in coming up with these issues. So this is a good budget. This is a budget that, as Councillor Cody said, addresses so many good things in our city. He mentioned some of them. Senior transportation. We, as a council, have consistently increased funding for special needs transportation. It's gone from, and they could use more, there's no doubt about it. Every organization could use more, but we have consistently done that. We have consistently increased funding for the Mann Gallery, for art education, and on and on and on. Look at all the playgrounds and splash parks and all of that kind of stuff that we've improved in this city. We're looking at Crescent Acres building softball diamonds, and funding that. We're right now, Councillor Edwards, Carlton Park Community Club is getting, basketball courts. I mean, these are things that are really good for our community, and that's what's in this budget. And I think we should all support it. I really, really hope that we have, a 9-0 vote in favor of supporting this particular budget. So thank you, and I thank my colleagues for all of their hard work during budget deliberations. And I'm glad we don't always agree on everything. That's a good thing. But in the end, we can respect each other for our differences and understand our differences. And next year, push away at those projects that you're passionate about. People know what I'm passionate about, and I get, excited and push for these items. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. This year, Crescent Heights is getting a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful improvement, and that's a good thing. So thank you to my colleagues for the budget deliberations and hopefully for support tonight. Thank you.
Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. And thank you, Councillor Grodnick, for that recap of the budget of all the many things that we talked about. And of course, Councillor Cody and Terry Lennox-Zepp, Councillor Lennox-Zepp, for bringing those points forward. I do want to say that this was a challenging budget, but it made it a little bit easier because of our line-by-line motion that was passed last year. And credit to the administration for, I think, putting up with us for the many, many days that we sat in here going through that line-by-line budget. Very diligent and deliberate when we made those choices. And yes, I agree, we're not all going to agree on some of these items. And through those deliberations, it became apparent that we had some mixed feelings about certain items, but we come together and we reached an end goal here, which is this budget. And so I will be supporting this today because it has a lot of good things in it. And we worked a lot, quite a bit of work to get here today. And so, yes, we may not agree on every single item, but I think there is, as said, there's a lot of good things here. And, it's very costly running a municipality. And there's a lot of things that were left out of this budget as well. So balancing residents' needs versus some of the things that we would like to see in the community has been challenging. But that's the work that we did in this room. And I'm proud of the end result here, and I will be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mayor Dion. Yes, we did go through this budget, and it took us quite a few days to do the whole entire thing, and in this room, as small as it is. And it's unfortunate that the downtown streetscape is not in this budget this year, but like next year, I'm hoping to do that project. I am in support of this budget so far. How we're going to pay for it is another issue, and I guess that's going to be our next step.
Tax tools, yep.
That's right, your tax tools. So as of now, I am in favor of the budget, but we'll see what happens
Tax
next
tools,
meeting.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Edwards.
Yes, thank you, your worship. I am going to support the budget as of now as well. It's going to depend, of course, on the tax tools for myself, for sure.
Yes.
I do want to thank administration for this difficult budget. A first year being asked line by line, that's a difficult task, bringing all of that forward, and I really appreciate the efforts. You were all challenged pretty hard on lots of items, on explaining where the money is, and that's important. It's important to have those questions. It's important to get the answers we got, and so I appreciate that immensely. So I am going to support the budget, as all of my colleagues said. There's lots of good things in there, moving the city forward.
Put your mask on.
And it's expensive to run a city, as we said. So I think that it's a fair amount, the increase that we asked for, and it's good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I see nobody else in the queue. So I'm prompting the question. Okay. Question is now open. Councillor Zepp.
No.
The budget passes 8-1. Okay, 11.8, capital financing, RFP. A motion, please. Councillor Edwards.
My contact's coming, by the way, just
Good.
so everybody knows. Yes, yes. So I'll face this way.
Okay, go ahead.
Also move that the capital financing request for proposal number 4 of 2022 be awarded to the Municipal Financing Corporation of Saskatchewan for creation of debt not payable within the current year in the amount of $40,863,000 for the purpose of funding the following capital investments. $16,000 for the $16 million for the construction of an aquatics and arenas recreation center to be payable over a period of 35 years. B, $12,803,000 for the construction of the raw water pump house to be paid over a period of 35 years. C, $6,260,000 for the construction of wastewater cell for the landfill to be payable over a period of 10 years. D, $3,400,000 for roadway construction for the Marquis Road West extension to be payable over a period of 25 years. And E, $2,400,000 for the detailed design of a wastewater treatment plant upgrade to be payable over a period of 35 years. 2, that the fixed interest rate for the loans will not exceed 3.7%. 3, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreements and any other necessary documents on behalf of the city once prepared. 4, that bylaw number 5 of 2022 be introduced and given 2 readings. Sorry.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Zierakowski.
Second.
Thank you. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a question, no comments, I guess more for the director. And I know your report speaks to this, but maybe there's people at home that are viewing and not have read this report, but why the specific years to these facilities? I guess, could you answer that? And did you weigh out the different payment options versus 25 years versus 35 years? So just a little bit of explanation on that, please.
Director of Finance.
Thank you for the question, Councillor. So the years are varied basically because the asset that we're borrowing for is for that lifespan of that asset. So if it's a longer period for 35 years, then we'll get a loan for 35 years. The other question you had, sorry, if you could please repeat the second question.
About balancing out the years 25 or 35, I'm sure you looked at some of those as well.
Yes, so, and that's why we had put the RFP out in the way that we did, with different timeframes because of the different projects that were going on.
Thank you. Councillor Cody?
Yes, Your Worship. Just a quick question here on the interest rates. It says either administration is requesting council approval to contract at a fixed rate not to exceed 3.7%, which is approximately 0.5% above the rate quoted by MFC for a 35-year borrowing. This is required due to the time required after council approval for administration and legal processing of the loan and fluctuation of borrowing costs of the province of Saskatchewan. What is that all about? Is it because we should have done this 6 weeks sooner, or is it what's happening here? Just a quick question, not sure I know the answer.
Go ahead, Director.
Thank you for the question, Councillor. So the rate was expressed that way just simply because rates will change day to day, hour to hour. And so we have to have a little bit of flexibility because by the time we bring this forward for signing, the rates will change from today to maybe even 2 days from now. Up or down? Up or down, yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. So would we not be wise if this is the way it's going to be? I know you have a fluctuation in there of 0.5%. But what if it went up 0.75? Should we not be wise tonight and give it 3 readings versus 2 readings and wait for another month for another reading?
What was that? The reason that it was split, I can answer that, Cheryl, talking to the clerk, is that we want to keep this item positive. And so we didn't want to get third reading denied because all you have to do when you ask for leave is get to 1 vote. And so we wanted to keep it positive. And so that's why we only asked for 2 readings, and we'll ask for the third reading at the next time.
And I understand your reasoning and the fact that you want to keep it positive. You don't want to have the public say, well, look, we could have done better. But surely to heavens, our council is not going to be that way with regards to giving a third reading tonight if it's going to save us even a 0.25%. That's a lot of money over $40 million. So I'm reluctant to say, well, I guess could we test the waters, but at the same time, I would just hope that council would not be that way.
Well, if you want to test the waters, the mover could easily change the motion to give it 3 readings tonight. No, but, oh, sorry, Councillor Edwards, sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, Your Worship, I am willing to move to 3 readings.
Okay, thank you very much. Is that all right with you, Councillor Zurikowski? Aye. Aye? Okay. Director, can you shut your mic off, please? Thank you. You what? She's asking to speak? Well, then why am I out? Good. Okay, I see no one else in the queue, so I'm going to prompt the question. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. City Clerk?
Mayor Dion, we now have bylaw number 5 of 2022 to provide for the creation of debt not payable within the current year. The bylaw is for 3 readings tonight.
Thank you. And I'll ask you people to leave your mics on so we go through the process. Councillor Edwards?
Also move the bylaw number 5 of 2022 be introduced and read a first time.
Thank you.
Seconded?
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing no one in the queue. I'll move the budget. Counselor Zepp,
Yes.
motion carries unanimously. City Clerk? Oh, no, sorry. Counselor
Also move
Edwards.
that bylaw number 5 of 2022 be read a second time.
Seconder?
Seconded.
Thank you. I'll prompt the question. Questions now open. Counselor Zepp?
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries unanimously. How do I do third reading? Okay, just 1 minute. We gotta add in leave. Thank you. Counselor Edwards?
Also move that leave be granted to read bylaw number 5 of 2022 a third time.
Seconder? Thank you. Okay, just a minute, she's just gotta put it in.
Turned off your light. Take them off.
No, because I didn't get the camera on me anymore. Now it's on you. I'll go like you're really bad. For your reason. That didn't work.
Can't get it in? Okay, unfortunately, she can't get it in, so I'm gonna have to show a hands vote. I'll start with Counselor Zepp.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Same thing with third reading. I'm gonna kill it.
Good thinking there, Counselor.
Thank you, Councilor Cody.
Saved a lot of money.
Always the wise Counselor Cody, yeah.
Councilor Edwards?
Also move that leave be, go wherever
Right
that
here.
went, okay. Also move the bylaw number 5 of 2022 be read a third time and passed, and the bylaw number 5 of 2022 be now adopted, sealed, and signed by the mayor and city clerk.
And seconded.
Thank you. Councilor Miller?
Thank you, Mayor Dion. So we have public notice that was given. And in the public notice, it says that on February 15, 2022, at 5 p.m. at council chambers, that if any persons wish to appear before council during this matter, to talk about it and whatever. So what do we do about the people who want to come? So I guess they should have come tonight.
Yep.
And so nobody's here, so we're good to go.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to prompt, is it in or no? Okay, on the third and final reading, Counselor Zepp?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor, show of hands, please. Passed unanimously again. Okay, thank you. So we're going to move on now to 11.9, 2021 audit engagement letters. Counselor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that the following engagement letters between the city and MMP LLP be approved. A, the audit of annual consolidated financial statements of the city for the year ending December 31st, 2021. B, the audit of financial information consisting of the municipal annual expenditure report of the city as of December 31st, 2021. And C, the audit of financial information consisting of the municipal economic enhancement program, municipal interim expenditure report of the city as at December 31st, 2021. And that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the letters of engagement on behalf of the city once prepared.
Thank you. And seconder,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second that.
thank you. Counselor Edwards?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I just have a quick question. How many audits do we go through in a year, approximately?
Go ahead, Director of Finance.
Thank you for the question, Councillor. We have the main audit, our main external audit that we have. That's our large one, and I would say that's our most important one. We have basically two other audits that go through is the mayor, the MAER, it's an acronym, and we also have a new one, the MEEP, which we only got started with in 2020. So one big one and two small ones.
Yeah, so the purpose of the audits are to ensure we are doing everything appropriately. We're accountable for everything that we do in the finance department there.
Thank you for the question. Yes, everything, an auditor will double check to make sure that our finances are reported according to our accounting principles, as well as following processes, procedures. They look at our internal controls and those aspects of the audit that they also mention it in the audit service plan as well.
Okay, and who is the external auditor?
Thank you for the question. Our external auditors are MNP. This is their final year with us. We'll be putting out another RFP for the next 5 years.
Yeah, okay, great. And I really appreciate the answers because I often hear the many comments that we need to be audited more. And my goodness, there is several audits that go on within the city. And it's so important to have, but they are being completed, and the people do need to know that these audits are regular and often and important and vital to have, but they do occur. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no one else in the queue with a question, so I'll prompt the vote. The vote is now open. Counselor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. 1110, Secondary Suite Program Application 1122 13th Street West. Counselor Miller.
Thank you. That the secondary suite program application for the property located at 1122 13th Street West be approved for the value up to $500.
Yeah.
Sorry. Subject to the following conditions submitted of supporting documentations. of the renovation work, completion of the renovation work, and applicant obtain the final inspections from the Planning and Services Department, Building Division, and subject to property. Wow.
Right on. Well, I could see struggling with $2,500 when we just approved millions. Councillor Brodnick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any comments? I don't see anyone in the queue. Questions now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. 1111, Signature Development Subdivision. Councillor Cody?
Yes, I agree with the administration's recommendation and move that the proposed subdivision application for partial C plan 102375446 be approved, subject to A, the submission of a final plan of survey for review and approval by administration, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the plan of survey and any other applicable documents on behalf of the city once prepared.
Thank you. Councillor Zierakowski?
Thank you. I'll second. I'll speak to it if I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So, Your Worship, this is, well, here you go. Here we go. This is a good news story. Less than a year ago, they put the pipes in the ground, formed the roadways, and they're looking for business. And now, before the snow starts to melt, people are banging down the doors to scoop up some of that property, to build. Another sign that things are happening around Prince Albert, in and around the city. This is a very good news story for the city. The taxes collected from these properties, from this development, the millions of dollars collected will help pay for the operation of that new recreational complex, which is clearly becoming a draw for that area of the city. We have people knocking down the door. Things are starting to turn, and we continue to take small steps forward, and things are starting to come together. So I think this is yet another item on the list to celebrate. The developer is taking phone calls, and we're looking forward to spring when we can see some of this work get done and some of the work take place on the recreational complex as well. When that first shovel gets into the ground, it's going to be very exciting for the community.
Absolutely. Councillor Cody?
Yeah, no question about what we're seeing here is activity. And what I like about some of this activity is not only the fact that we're building and we're getting new things going, but it's employment. I like seeing men and women work. And that's one of the greatest assets we have, is having people go to work. And it's been a downturn with COVID in the past year and a half to 2 years. Here now is the greatest opportunity we've had in a lifetime. We've got things happening in Prince Albert. There's going to be hotels, there's going to be restaurants, there's going to be stores, and you name it that's going to be down there. And it's absolutely exciting to see that Signature Development has gone forward and decided to do all of this good work. And we as a partner of theirs, are going to have other partners. And it's just going to be fantastic. And I just love the fact that we're going to have a myriad of people working out there, which is going to be just fantastic to see.
Thank you. Councillor Zepp?
Thank you. I didn't want to interrupt anyone. This is the subdivision at a site where we're going to have major infrastructure that's paid for by the taxpayer. And I am not comfortable approving the subdivision yet at this stage until and unless we have pursued that public consultation through the Community Services Master Plan regarding our city infrastructure at this location. Thank you.
You're welcome. Even though the project's well underway, I don't know what more you want, but Councillor Edwards?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. This is approved. This is, the project for the Aquatic Center and the Twin Arenas are approved. We're moving forward. Everything is done. The $16 million loan that was taken out to move that project forward didn't increase taxpayer money at all. It's coming out of money that was already being paid for. It didn't increase any additional spending. And what it's done is create all this excitement and new things coming to Prince Albert and something to look forward to, a brand new aquatic center where you can leave there and go to restaurants, or you can walk around this entire development that Signature's putting together. That's exciting news for Prince Albert. There's nothing to consult anymore. This is moving forward. We bought property out there because there was a development that could be around our facilities. And that's wonderful and new and vibrant. And my goodness, the city is excited for it. 95% of our city that I've talked to are pumped. So, you know, the good work that they're doing out there right now, attracting businesses and people knocking on their door, that's exciting, as the other councillors noted. I do have another question. The subdivision application, does that cost Signature Development some money to move forward with these projects?
Go ahead, Director.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Edwards, for the question. Yes, there's a fee required for any subdivision. It's a $300 application fee, then an additional $150 per new lot created.
Per new lot?
Yes, correct.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. That's everything for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brodnick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the public has spoken loud and clear. I know when this was approved prior to the last election, vote of 5-4, 5 of us campaigned on this project. This became key, campaign issue in the last election, municipal election. And in my particular case, there was other issues that people brought up, but that was the main topic about this project. And in Ward 5, 73% of the people agreed with me on this project should move forward. And I think all 5 of us that campaigned on this, all were reelected. And the public said yes to this particular project. There was, a very vicious campaign against it, and that was defeated. And people saw that and said, no, let's move the city forward. This is something positive. We've been waiting for this.
Thank you.
People were saying, how can a city, third largest city in Saskatchewan, not own their own aquatic center? And now we're going to do it. And we had people that were talking about that, even some of the naysayers, that we should have a wave pool like Melfort. Well, it's going to be bigger than Melfort, and it should be. We're a larger community. So I think the consultation, and I think the public is on our side and wants this to happen. And so I don't think we need to do any more studying. We have enough studies. Let's get some action going, and the people that are leading that is getting the action going to make this become a reality. And within 2 years, we could have these facilities, the first phase of these facilities, up and running, and that'll be a positive for the entire city.
Thank you. Okay, I see no one else in the queue, so I'm going to prompt the question. Okay. Now open. Councillor Zapp?
No.
Thank you. The motion carries.
Okay,
Okay, 1111, amendments to bylaw number 1 of 2018 building bylaw. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that bylaw number 1 and 2 of 2022 be introduced and given 3 readings. 2, that Kim Johnson, Kim Peterson, and Michael Nelson be formally appointed as the city's building officials pursuant to section 16, subsection 2 of the Construction Codes Act, and that the city clerk be authorized to issue and sign the certificates as contemplated under section 16, subsection 3 of the Construction Codes Act.
Thank you. Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second that.
Thank you. I'll prompt the question. I did. I deny ain't pressing anything. I might have to call Dennis up here. Oh no. It don't matter.
Do the signature developments.
Oh, do we call it?
Do the signature developments, and I'll just switch that right there.
Right there? Okay. I have it open. Councillor Zepp.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Yeah, I see you right just as I hit the button. Okay,
Mayor Dion, we now have bylaw number 1 of 2022 to amend the building bylaw number 1 of 2018 to comply with provincial legislative changes effective January 1st, 2022. The bylaws for 3 readings today.
thank you. Councillor Head,
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that bylaw number 1 of 2022 be introduced and read a first time.
I'll leave your light on, please. So we'll go through. Seconder, Councillor Kilmer,
Sorry? I'll second.
seconded.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay,
Threw me
I'll
off.
prompt the question on the bylaw. Yep. Yeah, I got it, bylaw. Councillor Zapp?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Councillor Head?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that bylaw number 1 of 2022 be read a second time.
Councillor Kilmer?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Prompt the question. No. I hit second. Keep going. Okay, motion's now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Head?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that the leave be granted to read bylaw number 1 of 2022 a third time.
Councillor Kilmer?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Prompt the question. Right here. Leave. There we go. It's now open. Councillor Zapp?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Leave is now granted. Councillor Head?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that bylaw number 1 of 2022 be read a third time and passed, and that bylaw number 1 of 2022 be now adopted, sealed, and signed by the mayor and city clerk.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Councillor Kilmer? Vote is now open. Councillor Zapp?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Yep, Councillor Head, you good.
Mayor Dion, we now have bylaw number 2 of 2022 to establish fees related to the issuance of permits and the enforcement of the National Building Code of Canada and its amendment Act within the city. The bylaws for 3 readings today.
Ha, I can defend myself. You show me on this agenda where it says bylaw number 2.
Yeah.
Ha.
They didn't put it in the heading.
They didn't put it in the heading? Okay, keep your lights on. We got to do it 4 more times. Counselor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that bylaw number 2 of 2022 be introduced and read a first time.
Counselor Kilmer.
Thank you, I'll second that.
Thank you. I'll prompt the question. What are they? First reading right here, right? Counselor Zepp. She said yes? Okay, I didn't hear her. Sorry. Counselor Head.
Thank you. I'll move that bylaw number 2 of 2022 be read a second time.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I'll prompt the question. Now open for second reading. Counselor Zepp.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Counselor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that leave be granted to read bylaw number 2 of 2022 a third time.
Counselor Kilmer.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Leave is now open. Counselor Zepp.
Yes.
Leave is granted. Counselor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that bylaw number 2 of 2022 be read a third time and passed, and that bylaw number 2 of 2022 be now adopted, sealed, and signed by the mayor and city clerk.
Thank you. Counselor Kilmer.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Questions now open. Counselor Zepp.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion's carried. Okay, now Counselor Head's excusing himself. Let the record show. Thank you. 1113, memorandum of agreement for bargaining QP 160 and 882. Counselor Cody.
Yes, I agree with the administration's recommendation, and I move that the memorandum of agreement between the city and CUPE number 882 be approved. Number 2, that the memorandum of agreement between the city and CUPE local number 160 be approved. And 3, that the equivalent wage increases for City of Prince Albert out-of-scope staffing, which excludes the out-of-scope Prince Albert Police Service and the out-of-scope Fire Department employees be approved, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreements on behalf of the city once prepared.
Thank you. Seconder, Counselor Miller.
I'll second Mayor Dion.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing no one in the queue. The vote is now open. Counselor Zepp.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Oh, that's you? Isn't that you now? Oh, no, this is obstruction. We're moving on. Sorry. Counselor Head's back. That's what I was waiting for. Thanks for helping me out, Counselor Head. You didn't even know it. 1114, obstructive bylaw number 3, third reading. Counselor Edwards.
Also move that bylaw number 4 of 2022 be given third and final reading.
Thank you. Seconder. Counselor Zirakowski, thank you. Any questions? I see no one in the queue. I'll prompt the question. Leave me alone. Counselor Zapp?
No.
Thank you. Passes 6-3. Thank you.
Mayor Dion, we now have bylaw number 4 of 2022 to amend the obstructive solicitation bylaw number 8 of 2007 to deter patrons being intimidated coming and going from retail stores or places of business. The bylaw is for third reading today.
Thank you. Counselor Edwards?
Also move the bylaw number 4 of 2022 be read a third time and passed, and the bylaw number 4 of 2022 be now adopted, sealed, and signed by the mayor and city clerk.
Thank you. Counselor Zirikowski?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, I'll prompt the question. Questions now open. Counselor Zapp?
No.
Thank you. Motion carries. Number 11.15, boards and committee appointments. No, just one question. Does that include the addition, or do we have to do that? That also includes the addition.
That's my question I was going to ask.
Yeah, so if you do, then all three are appointed.
There it is. Okay,
Well, there you go. Okay, Counselor Zirikowski.
last name. I will move the recommendations that the composition of the Prince Albert Public Library Board consist of the mayor and 8 members as appointed by City Council and in accordance with the Public Libraries Act of 1996. That the appointments to City Council's boards and committees be approved as outlined in Appendix A, and that Diane Kopachinski be appointed as a member of the Community Services Advisory Committee for the term ending December 31st, 2022.
Thank you, Counselor Obradnik.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Comments or nothing? Seeing in the queue.
Tara Lennox up for the queue, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to raise a concern that I have. I have no concern about the specific applicants and people named here at all. What I'm going to say is not about the applicants, but it's about process. Right now, we as a city, we have many people that apply for our boards and committees, which is a really great thing. It's a long list of people who are interested in these topics, and these are purely volunteer positions, so that's great. Right now, we do not have any criteria on selecting applicants to sit on our boards, and I believe that we should implement some type of criteria and think about what our goals are with our committees. Currently, the process is that it's simply through the mayor's office, makes a recommendation, and then it comes to council to be voted on. And maybe our goal for these committees should be considering diversity, and that can include gender diversity. It can include people of different diverse backgrounds, and it could include people from diverse career backgrounds. You know, any citizen who is interested in sitting on these committees, you know, anyone has the capability of doing a great job in our committees and bringing perspectives to us at City Council. So then how do you decide which of the many applicants that we get, how do we decide who should be sitting on these boards? And I do think that we should look in the future at what is our goal here, and that something that really assists us as a city is hearing from a wide variety of voices, and that we should perhaps have a goal of focusing on getting a mixture and having actual criteria for these positions. Thank you.
Now, just before I go to Councillor Brodnick, I just want to second what you said, because that's exactly what my office does. We look at gender, we look at diversity, we look at representation, so thank you for that acknowledgement. That's my criteria. And I'm very proud and pleased the appointments we put on this board, not only for gender, but diversity, and I believe every board and committee in our city represents our community. So thank you for that acknowledgement. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say, I can't speak for all the committees, but I can speak for the Community Service Advisory Committee. and the composition of that committee. And exactly, it covers, gender, gender, equal representation of genders. It covers people that self-identify as visible minorities, all walks of life. I mean, we have retired persons. As a counselor, I'm a retired person as well. And we have, a first-time counselor head that chairs that committee. We have people on that committee that has a keen interest in the Rotary Trail and Little Red. We have a person that is involved in female athletics that is represented and pushes for female athletics and issues there, making sure that female athletics is equally represented in male athletics in this city. We have people that are from lacrosse and baseball, all different interests. And so I think our committee is a really good, diverse group of people that represent all walks of life in the city. And that's why when we have our good discussions at these meetings, we come up with really good recommendations that we forward on to City Council. And it's because of the appointments and the volunteers, the people that have volunteered to be on that committee. So I think we do have a good representation of the community on the Community Services Advisory Committee for sure, and I trust it's the same for all the committees. When I look and talk with other chairs and people that are interested, golf has, golf advisory, it's men and women, people that are interested. I mean, it exists.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm prompting the question. Motion is now open. Councillor Zapp,
Yes.
passed unanimously, so thank you for supporting my appointments. Okay, we're going to move on to number 12, unfinished business. We have none. Mayor's and councillors' forum. Councillor Botnick?
Thank you. I just have two quick items. First of
No,
all,
go ahead.
I want to congratulate the Man Art Gallery for once again hosting the Winter Festival Juried Art Show and Sale. Over 100 talented artists submitted this year. When you go in there, the main hallway into the gallery, that wall is incredible. It's the best it's ever been. Of really, really unique, talented, and the way the adjudicator of the art set up the display or the presentation of the art this year in the gallery is absolutely outstanding. So I would encourage members of the public to go and to purchase some of the art. It's all for, or not all, most of it's for sale, and it's local artists, and it's absolutely outstanding this year, the show and sale. So I want to congratulate the Winter Festival and the Man Art Gallery for putting on an A-class art show this year. Second, today, February 15th, is Flag Day. And it's the day we celebrate, and the day 56 years ago today, for the very first time, the Peace Tower in Ottawa took the red ensign down and hoisted the maple leaf right side up on Parliament. And that's the way our flag should fly. And I'm proud to be a Canadian that flies the flag right side up. It's disgusting that people would desecrate our flag. However, you're also allowed, because we live in a free and democratic society, to do that. Our Constitution and our Charter allows us to do that. However, I would never do that. There's ways of protesting. So today is Flag Day. 56 years ago today, the maple leaf was hoisted. The maple leaf is a symbol of Canada. The red represents hope and prosperity, and the white represents tranquility and peace. That's what it represents. And there was a huge debate of what flag should we have. Pearson, the Prime Minister of Canada, wanted blue stripes with 3 maple leaves, red maple leaves. And in the end, the House of Commons voted in favor of the present flag, the maple leaf. Mr. Diefenbaker was opposed to it, but in the end, he supported the Canadian flag. He gave a great passionate speech why we shouldn't do this and continue with our British heritage. And in the end, though when Parliament spoke, the entire House of Commons came together and supported that, including Mr. Diefenbaker. And he was one of the biggest opponents of the new Canadian flag. So happy birthday to our Canadian flag, 56 years old today.
Hey,
A little bit of history again, but you
well,
ain't gonna get rid of me
we gotta have history.
for another 2.5 years.
Councillor Edwards.
I certainly appreciate the history lessons we get in here. I'm paying attention as I age to history, so thank you for that, because I missed that part in high school. And I did attend. So there's no history coming from me, but I do want to recognize across the city the help that the neighbors are doing to remove snow. I see it all the time. There's neighbors removing snow from sidewalks and everywhere in front of their neighbors, and just to really appreciate it. And the last time the city was on Barton Drive and Bradbury, I just thought it was amazing. The community down there just came together and worked their butts off to remove the ridges that were left, and just outstanding community efforts, and I just wanted to recognize that. Thank you.
And that's great, because, you know, the amount of snow we had this year, we still could make a record. And people have to understand that we would like to do better, but the weather won't cooperate. The weather has to give us 10 to 12 days to clean the city. And boy, it won't. Again, on Thursday, we're supposed to get snow again. So it's been a relentless year, but I too want to identify, you know, all the people that are out there helping people, not only, you know, with shoveling snow, but the people that do get stuck, because there's a few of us that get stuck. And people now understand, and the residents, why we come and scrape. They never understood it till we had those 3 or 4 days when the weather improved and it got soft and they started breaking through that foot of snow that was there. And now we're dealing with trying to scrape those ridges and ruts out of there. And we will get to it. We'd like to remind everyone we have over 240 kilometers of streets. So that's almost to Saskatoon and back. And we have all the private contractors we can engaged. And we just ask people to be patient that we will get there. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. I might remind people that the Winter Festival events are going on as well. And I'll be at the Little Red on the 21st for Family Day to hand out crazy carpets, thanks to our committee, the Alcohol Strategy Committee, and thanks to Malcolm Jenkins for all the crazy carpets, and should be a fun time. Hope to see everybody out. We'll go for a trip down the big hill together.
God. Oh, God. Could you imagine me coming down on a crazy carpet? Okay, I asked for that. Okay, any more under Mayor and Councilor's inquiry?
Tara Lennox up.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just following up on the Winter Festival activity, is just a reminder that the Winter Festival has the drive-in fireworks show, which is on the 25th of February, and that's at the Arthauser parking lot. And the last time that they hosted that, it was just phenomenal. Really great activity. So just wanted to share that one. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll do a quick Winter Festival commercial, because two of the most popular entertainment shows, Voices of the North, is this Friday and Saturday night. Great program, and I encourage you that. Then the Country North Show is the following weekend. And this time they're both hosted as a beautiful entertainment center at the Prince Albert Exhibition. So there's lots of parking, lots of room, and you got to get out there. The local talent that we have is just incredible. Okay, with that, I'll move off in that, and I'll go to number 14, inquiries. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. And speaking of snow removal, we just had the entire West Flats, and I haven't got home for my phone calls yet. But I want to thank the department for an exceptional year that we've had with snow and trying to keep up. However, I did talk to the roadways manager, the new roadways manager, this afternoon. And if he could just take a trip down 13th Street West all the way to 19th Avenue, that would be great. It's a bus route, and there's a few concerning spots in there that the bus will be only going through because of the mountains of snow in the middle. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards?
Thank you, Your Worship. This is in regards to garbage bins, the portable garbage bins. And I'm just wondering what the criteria is, when they can leave it out in their back alley, or how do we look at giving tickets? Because I noticed that there's a lot of green bins left out in the back alleys on a consistent basis. And what happens is the garbage gets spilled out over into the alley, and then we have to return to clean it up on a regular basis, which costs lots of money. So I'm just wondering what the process is there in regards to those portable garbage bins.
Go ahead, Director.
Thank you very much for the question. Just one clarification, you're speaking of the city cans, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, so in our bylaw, people can put out their can the day before, the day of the pickup, and then they must pick them up the following day. They cannot remain in the proper lane or out on the curb. They have to come back onto their property. If we find that somebody's leaving their can out, we encourage people to contact Public Works, and we will go out, and if we find that they're out when they're not supposed to be, we do put a tag on the can to remind that person that they need to follow the proper protocol. You get 3 warnings, and then if it pursues, we will remove the bin.
We'll remove the bin.
Yes.
Okay, they don't get a ticket? Sorry,
Oh.
I turned it off. My apologies.
No, go ahead, Councillor Edwards.
I would have to follow up on that about tickets because I'm not versed in that, but that could be a possibility too, yes.
So the removal of the bin doesn't make a lot of sense, because then what the heck do they do with the garbage?
Yeah.
But I really feel enough is enough sometimes. The garbage is terrible in some of these back alleys, and we often return to go collect the garbage and pick up the mess that's been left. And I don't know where we draw the line, and I'm finding it a problem. And many residents are finding this, it's difficult. They're trying to keep their area clean, and then there's homes that consistently leave these out. There has to be a process.
Yes, and for the most part, 90% of the people who get a tag, they don't do it again. They realize that that's something that they have to stay on top of.
Okay.
We do have certain properties in certain locations that are consistent problems. It's more than just that individual, it's the type of property. And in that case, when the garbage is being spilled out all over the public roadway and the private property, then there's also the involvement of bylaw. And that's where the tickets come in.
Yeah, so right now, the garbage truck drivers, do they have the ability to tag, correct?
What they do is they call it in, because if the truck driver was to stop and get out and tag a vehicle, he'd never get his route done. So he makes note of those addresses, he calls them in to the foreman. The foreman is in a pickup truck, he goes around to those addresses that the drivers have pointed out, and he tags the bins.
Okay, well, I'd be happy to share with you a few locations that
bet.
we see on a regular basis. so.
We'd love to know those addresses, and we'll be on
Yeah,
it.
I think they're pretty well documented, but thank you.
Okay, Councillor Botnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have an inquiry or a question, and it won't be able to be answered tonight, so I will submit it in writing, and it might take a lot of work, and maybe it needs a notice motion, I don't know. But I'm interested in knowing how much money has the city spent, and has the city been given grants from other levels of government, from the corporate world, and also from community groups over the last couple of years. We have a lot of projects, and I just thought about, I think it was in January where we passed a motion to spend $2.5 or $3.5 million, something like that, at the airport. And where did that money come from? I think it would be interesting to see how much money our department heads and our city manager and other people that are involved in getting money, getting grants, and getting from outside sources. I think of Judy McLeod Campbell, all the different reports that she tries and places that she tries to get money. Our museum, how much money do they get from outside sources, and on and on and on. Sask Lotteries gives us money for all these community groups. It's going to take a lot of work, but I think it would be interesting to see how much money and how many partnerships has the city of Prince Albert entered into, and that the public needs to see that, your tax dollars, you pay that one tax bill, but those tax dollars come from provincial, federal, and municipal governments, and make things happen in the city. And so that's going to be my inquiry, is we have all these neat projects.
No.
Is that more than an inquiry?
Yes, strictly because you said it. It is going to take quite a bit of work, so you're going to have to ask for a notice of motion for council to tie up the staff to do that.
Okay. So it's not inquiry. So I'll make it a notice of motion then.
Thank you. But I do agree, it would be an interesting factor, and I don't know how much work it would detail. I know we just did one for the utility, where we just got over 100 million. So, yeah, that, okay, so yeah, so I don't know. Okay, any other inquiries? No, and I just want to acknowledge something. I did have one, but the director answered the question. I had a gentleman in the cul-de-sac that went out and put his garbage can out, and we know what cul-de-sacs are like. And so what happened is, when he got up in the morning, the neighbor had put her can out right to his. And neither one got empty, but they were tagged. And so he thought it was the driver, but I know now how that happened. And so that I can explain it to him. That no, it wasn't the driver, they don't get out, they don't have time to tag, that somebody else came along. Okay, thank you. I'm off inquiries. Inquiry responses, 1511, January 24th. Do we want to go home? Nope. Councilor Miller.
I'll receive and file.
Thank you. Seconded. I'll prompt the question. It is now open. Councilor Zapp?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Notice of motion. Oop, sorry. Just give me 1 sec. I did something here. Councilor Broderick.
I guess I have one in my notice of motion would be just to have a report from administration on the external funding for projects within the city of Prince Albert over the last year or so.
Okay, thank you.
That's what it'll be. Thank you.
Write that out. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, moving on. Number 17, motions. We have 17.1, motion. Councilor Head? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that administration provided a report to members of council outlining the practices established in other Saskatchewan municipalities to replace lead services connections for citizens. And I'll speak on that once if I get a seconder.
Thank you. Seconder? Councilor Miller?
I'll second Mayor Dion.
Thank you. Councilor Head?
Thank you again, Mr. Your Worship. I brought this motion forward. I've been contacted by several constituents within my ward and had a conversation about some of the practices that we have undertaken when it comes to lead service replacements. And I know several municipalities throughout our province has variances to that practice. I know when we replace our services, we only go up to the property line, and that lead service still remains on the homeowner side. And I'm just kind of looking at other alternatives when we are going through these older neighborhoods and looking at some of the lead connections thereabouts. So I guess this might have been discussed already, this might have come forward already, but I haven't seen it in my term, and so I'd like to see what options are available to the citizens of Prince Albert.
Yep, and I think it'll be pretty quick because we do have one. Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, I'm going to prompt the question.
Tara, oh,
Go ahead.
sorry, Tara.
Go ahead.
Just that I support this, and I think it's always good to look into the options. And as Councillor had pointed out, City of Saskatoon does quite a interesting job on this, and so this report could be good just for us to understand what options we have. Thank you.
Welcome. The voting's now open. Councillor Zepp.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, 17.2, motion, Councillor Kilmer.
Move that Public Works Department provide a report regarding snow removal and road conditions during this past year that outlines the following for consideration by members of council at an upcoming meeting. Number one, efficiencies and challenges they faced by the department, the number of calls and emails received by the department, the response times for the city crews to address the calls, emails, requests received, and the necessary changes that required to policy number 8.2, snow removal and ice control policy, website information and or communication to the public that would increase the efficiency of snow removal and residential support. And if there's a seconder, I'd like to speak to it after.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Zirakowski for discussion. Go ahead, Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you very much. My motion is just exactly that. It's meant that we really appreciate this year and that it's a abnormal year, and we do say that in the 2 big years that I've been here. I've said that twice. Since for this year, there's been snow lifts on 55 streets. The entire downtown has been snow lifted 3 times. Our community services keeps the facility parking lots clean and free of snow, and the 22.6 kilometers of the Rotary Trail, in great condition. This motion is meant to provide an opportunity to reflect publicly about our ice and snow policy and the procedures, and it's to encourage the fine-tuning. Like, take a look at our policies, take a look at what we're doing, and just fine-tune. I'm really proud that our residents are able to contact our city every day, and they're going to get a human. That's not, on the phone. That's not typical of other communities, so I do really appreciate the work, but this is completely about governance, and a good practice is reflect on the practices that we have and make them better.
Okay, the only thing I would ask is that when they get time to draft this report, because we're almost out of our snow season, and we have to start some pretty aggressive lifts here to prevent flooding in certain areas. And so if it doesn't take too much time of the supervisor or some of the staff, I don't have an issue with that. But we should give them time because we're almost out of this year. Another month it'll start melting. Oh, sorry, you come on.
I really appreciate that. I understand that when I made the motion, making it at this time, that they have a good 90 days, and hopefully that's not too much of a crunch, and I was thinking of exactly that. And whatever time that they do need, it does help. I'm not expecting reflecting during the snow season.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Zirakowski.
Thank you. I think that's good information to have during the conversation, but I'd like to have a conversation that flips it around just a little bit different. I think we need to have an honest discussion about what level of service do we expect. What level of service do our residents expect provided by the corporation, provided by the city? And then we express that in common language, and we ask the department to come back, and what does that look like? What does it cost? What does it look like? A lot of this data is important to the conversation, and it's interesting information. But I think, and I think the comments by my colleagues are correct, I think we're into next year country already, but as we have an opportunity to explore this past year and the past few years, I think it's important that we have that conversation. We've all chatted with our neighbors. What do they expect? And what does it cost? And then the department can provide that service, and they'll say, we can do A and B, but it's going to cost X, Y, and Z. We can accomplish it, or we can't. If this is the level of service you expect, this is the resources we need. And by the way, what do you do with those resources when it doesn't snow?
Yeah, and I agree with you that we have to look at expectations first before we look at changing our practices. Okay, I'm going to prompt the question. The question is now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Motion carries. We have no public forum. Councillor Kilmer? Second. Councillor Head? Thank
I'll
you.
second that.
So I'll prompt the question. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Good night, Councillor Zepp, and be safe.
Thank you so much. Bye now.
Yep, she voted. No, it's open now. Okay, passed, carried. We're now adjourned. Thank you. Very good meeting. One more
Thank
thing before we go.